Today, we are diving deep into the transition that almost every mother will face at some point. Empty nest syndrome, that tender, aching moment when the children we've nurtured, guided, and loved so fiercely spread their wings and fly into their own lives, exactly as we've raised them to do. Hello, my darling. I'm Vanessa, and welcome to Feminine Spaces. Here, women 40 plus reclaim their feminine power through relationship wisdom, self-mastery, and conscious living. You belong here. Let's dive in. So, the topic of empty nest syndrome. For some women, this season feels like freedom. For others, like myself, it felt like grief. For most of us, it's a confusing cocktail of both. But here's the truth. This season is not the end of your story. It's the beginning of a reimagined you. So, how about opening up your lens to understanding empty nest syndrome? Because I have learned so much about this with 4 kids running through my life. So from a psychological perspective, empty nest syndrome is not a clinical disorder, but it is very real, girl. Studies show that many women experience feelings of sadness and loneliness, even identity loss, when their children leave home. I experience every single one of these, and I'll tell you why. Because for decades, our nervous system has been primed to protect, provide, and prepare for others. Motherhood reshapes your brain chemistry, my brain chemistry, our brain chemistry with oxytocin, dopamine, and our cortisol levels shift around caregiving. So when that daily demand supply suddenly disappears, you're like an addict. Seriously, it feels like withdrawals. So there's also this deep identity shift. Because if you think about it, 18, 20, sometimes, depending on your circumstance, 30 years, you've been so-and-so's mom. This label carried social value, routine, and purpose. And now, without it, you feel like there's no purpose. And your subconscious mind is asking, who am I now? Spiritually, this is a threshold moment. It's the death and the rebirth cycle. Something you've invested decades in has ended, which means your feminine soul has an opening to expand into a new way. So this isn't just grief. It's also an initiation. So let's get real about the changing emotional landscape and how it can feel moving forward and now. So the first thing is loneliness. You know, the house is once full of chaos and there's buzz and laughter and there's all kind of crazy stuff. And now it is unbearably quiet. And then there's that loss of control because we're mothers, so we're controlling by nature, by some degree, you know, for safety measures. So we're no longer the center of our children's decision-making, what they want to eat, or their daily rhythms, because God willing, we have taught them to be purposeful, independent, growing adults. And then for me, it was that loss of purpose. Like so many other women, we have led our entire identity through motherhood When that role changes, it can feel like the ground beneath us disappears. Even if you've owned a company, even if you've worked, it doesn't matter. You still feel like something is missing. And then let's not even talk about how the relationships shift. Marriage and our partnerships can suddenly feel strained. Without kids as the central glue, you're face to face with your partner or yourself in a brand new way. And here's the kicker. Society rarely validates us, and they rarely validate our grief, because now we're told, go on, now you're free, girl, enjoy yourself. But grief does not work like that. You can't bypass the mourning of a chapter that meant everything to you. So now, through a psychological lens, let's see how you can reinvent yourself by decades. Let's break this down, from our 40s, our 50s, our 60s and beyond, right? Because this is a way for you to reimagine yourself beyond the shifts with each stage of life. Because along with our children leaving, our bodies are changing, our relationships are changing, our workflow is changing. There's so many things that are moving through us. So in your 40s, from a psychological perspective, this decade often overlaps with children leaving for college and menopause. And then the midlife brain begins to reprioritize after grieving and super sadness and remembering you're still alive, that it's always about overachievement. Neurologically, women crave authenticity. So we move from focusing everything on them to focusing more on ourselves. So a great practice is to begin experimenting. Take a class that you've never had time for. Rekindle that old passion. Maybe revisit your sensuality. This is the decade to expand your identity beyond motherhood. Then you can think about, what's your feminine power move? You can say yes to being curious. You can travel more. You can date your soul. In your 50s, which is the stage that I'm in now, from a psychological perspective, our hormones have shifted. Some people begin perimenopause or menopause. I was over it. So I can tell you this, my estrogen levels dropped, which also lowers that automatic impulse to nurture others. That's why your husband thinks that you're cold and distant. But literally, that's not what it is, but it is. And this isn't a loss, it's a liberation. Your nervous system is no longer wired to put everybody else first. And that is a good thing, because something you can practice for yourself is to strengthen your body, your mind, your spirit. There's weight training, of course, Pilates classes. Meditation is such a great way to get grounded with yourself. I walk every morning, which helps amplify my creativeness and my sense of independence in getting to know who I am now. For you, what's your feminine power move? Is it to claim your throne, to be the empress of the decade? You're not just a mother. You're a wise woman, a leader, a mentor. So in your 60s, from a psychological perspective, your brain's default mode network is all about self-reflection, which happens to strengthen you. So through this self-reflection, many women find deep clarity, spiritual awakening, and a purpose straight into their 60s. You can practice something like creating legacy projects. You can write, you can paint, you can build a business, like I'm doing with Feminine Spaces, by mentoring younger women and women my own age, by sharing the experiences that I've had and talking through a psychological lens. And this is where we are the keepers and sharers of wisdom. And then our feminine power move is to remember self-discovery and let it move into self-offering. Do you want to bless? Or who do you want to bless with your wisdom? And then in your 70s and beyond, from a psychological lens, we're talking about emotional regulation, which actually improves with age. You're no longer having these meltdowns. You've had enough wisdom and experience in your life to know we're good. And science shows that older adults report higher happiness and lower stress levels. Because if you think about it, we've gone through pretty much everything. So we have a grasp on what's coming next. So then you can practice and lean into savoring, enjoying your body, cultivating beauty, pleasure without apology. And then your feminine power move is when you become the matriarch or the empress of yourself. You're a lighthouse of presence, laughter, and wisdom. So, how do you reimagine yourself? You want a few little tips? Okay, so here are 5 powerful practices to move from loss into the self-reclamation. The first thing is to allow grief to have a voice. Girl, you're changing. Your life is moving into a different place. You must grieve this experience, right? So you can journal, you can cry, you can write letters to your children. Don't spiritualize it away and be like, oh my God, this is part of life. No, grief is sacred. You have to feel it. You have to move through it in order to cycle through to the next chapter in your life, which leads me straight into redefining purpose. Ask, if I wasn't someone's mom, who would I be? What lights you up, even when no one's clapping for you? You know, I used to create vision boards or vacation boards, even mood boards for a specific project. So why not create some kind of purpose board? You know, I did it when I started Feminine Spaces. So this purpose board is not for your kids. It's only for you. What is it that you want to navigate? What is it that you want to flavor moving forward? And then the reason why I walk every morning, Monday through Friday, is to reclaim my body, because I like to remember what my body feels like and be comfortable in it. So I learned to move in a more sensual and powerful way. You can also dance or lift weights. My girlfriend Yosha, she swims. It's to reawaken the relationship you have between your body and your caretaker vessel, moving into the most magnificent era of you discovering yourself. And then you're married or in a relationship, girl, you got to strengthen those relationships. You have to rediscover intimacy with your partner. Or if you're single, to explore the relationships from a place of self-knowing rather than obligation. That's when you start clearing your house and seeing who's with you, who's not with you, who supports you, who doesn't. And then you focus on deepening those friendships, because women thrive in community. And then design your next adventure. Start something new, a business, maybe a creative pursuit, travel, or volunteer, depending on where you live in the world. Because expansion is the antidote of contradiction. Girl, 10 years ago, I became a certified coach. It took a year, and that course changed the way I view and access life. Becoming a certified coach, although I'm now retired, made me a better person. Those 10 years listening, sharing tools and skills with other women helped me understand, one, I'm not going through it by myself, and two, I can share my wisdom to help others. So, no, the empty nest isn't a void. It's a space of possibility. It's a place which allowed me to claim my feminine power. You are no longer bound to constant nurturing, which means you can nurture yourself. You're no longer the supporting role in your children's lives. When they need it, yes, but not 24/7, which means you step into being the leading lady of your own. The Empress. This is the mode that I'm in. This is my chapter. This is my cycle. I got Empress energy. And you are no longer confined to one identity, which means you can expand into your full feminine archetypes. Somewhere here in Feminine Spaces, there's a whole video on the 12 archetypes. So it's the mother, the lover, even the creatrix. And this is your invitation to live boldly, unapologetically, and expansively. Girl, empty nest is not the end of your story. It's a moment you rise into your power, your voice, and your deepest desires. And remember, your feminine power doesn't end with motherhood. It begins when you claim yourself. Again, thank you, my darlings, for spending this sacred time with me. If today's video stirred something in your spirit, let it be more than just inspiration. Let it be a gentle invitation back to yourself. Be sure to subscribe and please share this with our darling female friends and companions and best friends and sisters, because you never know who needs it. And we all really need it. So leave a comment below, because you know I love hearing from you. Tell me what you've picked up, what you're applying, how is it working for you, or if you have any questions. And remember, you are not too late. You're not too much, and never too far gone. Here in Feminine Spaces, we rise in beauty, truth, and grace together. Until next time, stay soft, stay rooted, and stay sovereign.